Time for a few more insights. These will be insights into how you experience your yoga practice. So let's start with sitting. And if you like, you can come into the normal cross-legged sitting position, but it's nice once in a while to switch up how you sit. So for today, if it's available, I would suggest you come into more of a Vajrasana, or in Zen they call this Seja sitting on your heels. If it's a bit too much for your knees to sit like this, you can use some blocks or some props in between the feet. If the ankles complain, you can put rolled up blankets or towels underneath the ankles. But if this just doesn't work for you for any reason, then just find a cross-legged position that does work for you. Take a moment to snuggle, get nicely grounded. From the floor, rebound through your core, allowing the heart to open, the shoulders relax back and down, the hands relaxing onto your thighs or folded into the lap, the chin in slightly, the eyes either closed or cast down on the floor in front of you. Become aware of the earth beneath you. Feel yourself solid, grounded. And then aware of the sky above you. Feel yourself sitting tall like a proud mountain, reaching up into the sky. To this, add an awareness of the space all around you, the temperature of the air against your skin. Feel the touch of your clothing. Now notice the breath within you, allowing each breath to rise and fall. Noticing what happens as you happen to breathe. Three more breaths. Before opening your eyes, add an intention for your practice today. It can be simply a reminder of why you're doing your practice. What do you intend by doing your yoga today? Or it could be to be more mindful, to be more present, to be healthier. Whatever your intention is, just bring that to mind. And slowly open your eyes. We'll begin with a little flow, just something simple movements with the breath. We stay sitting in the Seja, hands at your side, exhaling here. This is called a three-part Taoist breath. As you inhale, bring the arms out and up, drinking in the breath. Then as you exhale, bring the hands behind your head and then pushing the walls apart. It's a very stiff muscular movement. Exhale completely. On the next inhale, bring the fingertips to the shoulders, lifting the elbows a bit. Now as you exhale, push the palms away, round your back, drop your chin to your chest. When the palms turn up, inhale, reach up. Bit of a back bend, you can look up. Now as you exhale, take it to the floor. Child's pose, sighing out the breath. And then we rise with the inhale, flowing again, reaching out and up. Exhale out to the side. As you inhale, draw the energy inward. And then push forward as you round back, dropping the chin down, rounding the spine. Palms turn up, inhale. Reach up, you can look up. Exhale, taking it to the earth, bowing down. Do 2 more cycles, inhale. Reaching out, reaching up, stretching. Exhale to the side, stiff, muscular, almost jerky movement. Inhale, drawing in. Exhale out. Rising on the in-breath. Sighing, take it to the earth. One last cycle, the most mindful. If you like, you can close your eyes. Just surf the waves of energy, the breath, lifting up. Exhale out to the side. Drawing in. Pushing forward as you round back. Reaching up. Inhale, a bit of a back bend. We come into child's pose where we'll remain in the pose of the child. Find the child's pose that works for you. No 2 children are exactly alike. For some people, it's easy to have the legs together as they fold forward. But for some people, they get a painful pinching at the top of the hip. So the knees can be apart as you fold forward. If it's uncomfortable to rest your head on the floor, you can rest on a bolster. Maybe rest your head onto the hands. Our intention in child's pose is to be where you can feel a stress. We're starting to lightly work through the lower back, through the shoulders, and it's a deep flexion for the hips. So I invite you just to stay here in the pose of the child for a few breaths. So while physically this practice will predominantly work the spine, at another level, the intention of the practice is to develop our ability to attend, to be aware. So as you're in child's pose, notice the most obvious sensation you're experiencing. Maybe along the spine, maybe the weight of your chest against the thighs or the top of the feet against the floor. Maybe it's the knees. Wherever the most obvious sensation is, climb inside that experience. This is a bit counterintuitive, because usually when we're feeling something that's challenging, we like to run away from it. We don't want to investigate it. We want to either stop it, mask it, or run away. But in yoga, we explore the sensations. We don't try to change them, unless the sensations are so intense that they become painful and you can't stay in the place. We observe them. So take this most obvious sensation. Notice what happens to it with time. Does it become stronger? Or does it ebb away? Maybe some new sensation becomes predominant. And so you investigate that sensation. We're starting very simply here in the child's pose. Later we'll get to more challenging poses. But just notice what this is feeling like. Climb inside. So we're here for 1 more minute. The last 3 breaths. Maintaining that inner experience, slowly start to roll up. And as always, slowly means not fast. So notice what it feels like to come up. When you're up, just pause there for a moment. Feel your spine. It comes back to neutral. And you can shake the legs out. Grab a cushion or a folded blanket, something to sit on. We'll continue to work with flexion of the spine for a few more poses. The next pose is the butterfly. This is the long-legged version of the butterfly. So instead of having the feet in quite close, move the feet quite far away. So you make a nice diamond shape with the legs here. Notice how this feels for the knees. If the knees are bothered by this, put some support underneath the knees. If the ankles feel uncomfortable in this position, you can put a blanket underneath the ankles. And then to your own degree, start to fold forward. Now, if you've been advised to avoid flexion poses, it's okay to stay sitting up tall. Or you can even do this against the wall, which will ensure the spine to be neutral. But it's okay to round the spine, then come forward until you naturally stop, allowing the head to hang down. If it's too much for the neck, you can support the head into your hands, or you can rest your chest against a bolster. Our intention in this pose physically is to feel a stress along the spine, through the outside of the hips, and maybe even through the inner groins. These are the 3 main targeted areas. But if any of those sensations are too much, then it's okay to back off. But we don't have to be really deep. We want to be just where you feel something. And then you become still. We'll hold here for time. But while we're holding, we want to return to our investigation of the sensations. It can be helpful when we first start to learn to sense the body, to physically trace the sensations. For example, take a hand and just lightly caress the spinous processes along the lower back. Notice what that feels like. Notice the nature of your spine there, the bumps and the valleys. Every body is different. The spaces between your bumps may be quite different than somebody else's. In this flexion, we tend to have the most space of all. When we come into an extension, that space disappears as the vertebrae start to extend and contact each other. So just lightly trace the bones, but also notice the sensations along the spine. Is it right along the bones, or is it to one side? Is it on both sides? You can trace those sensations. Then if you're feeling anything through the other hip, just lightly. It's a light effleurage. Just trace the sensations, paying attention to wherever you feel this. You can turn the hand back to child's pose, but mentally keep tracing the sensations. We start to notice the qualia of the sensations. At first, when we begin a yoga practice, it's tough enough to notice any sensation at all. This introspection is not something that's valued in our culture. We're taught to get out of the body, to ignore it. It's like if you have an older car and that red engine light keeps coming on. It's very annoying to see a red engine light all the time. So we take a piece of masking tape and we cover it. Now we're not bothered by that signal. Of course, this is not necessarily wise in the long run, but that's the way we're taught to treat our body in the West. You got uncomfortable sensations? Well, mask them. Take a pill. Run away from them. But here in Yin Yoga, we got time to really investigate the sensations. So for 1 more minute, keep bringing awareness back over and over again to the strongest sensation you're experiencing right now. Ask yourself, what is this? Like a Zen koan. What is this? About 3 more breaths. And 1 last breath. Keep feeling within as you slowly roll up. So you notice what it feels like to come out. That sense of release. Like you've been damming a bunch of waters and now the river is free to flow. And straighten the legs. Lean back a little bit, an easy back bend. Just pause here for a moment. Close your eyes. Stay inside. Feel that rebound. The sense of release. Perhaps now you feel the weight of your hands into the earth. The way the shoulder blades are pushing into the upper back. The chest opening. What's your breath like? When you feel the time is right, we're just going to come forward into a caterpillar, a straight leg fold, but with a rounding aspect, so we're allowing the head to come towards the knees. Now, if you're very tight in the hamstrings, it's okay to bend the knees. Put a block underneath the knees. If you're very tight, you can even have your feet on the floor and clasp your elbows under the legs, dropping the chin down. And over the next few moments, the legs will slowly become maybe a little bit straighter. We don't really care how straight the legs are. It's irrelevant whether the legs are straight or the knees are bent. The targeted area is the backside of the body. As long as you're feeling something along the spine or the back of the legs, then you're in the pose. If this is getting to be too much for the head, you can rest the head onto a block, to your hands. But we do want to feel something. So choose that first edge where you can hang out here. Time will do the magic. That means we're free to go inside to experience this. So again, find the most obvious sensation that's occurring right now. Let's hone our awareness. In yoga text, this is one of the definitions of the word viveka, discernment. Attending to what's happening. But let's deepen that discernment. The most obvious sensation you're experiencing right now, where exactly is it? Is it in one spot? Or is it spread out? Does it cover an area? Is it superficial? Is it more to the surface of the body? Or is it deep? Does it feel like it's really going within the tissues? Does it have a shape to it? Is it like a square or a long rectangle or a ribbon, thin but long? Or is it more circular, like a ball? Is there a temporal quality to it? Is it constant? Or does the sensation
kind of come and go, throbbing maybe? Or does it move around? First in one area, and then it migrates. Now it's in another area. We're not trying to create any of these sensations. We're not trying to control them. We simply want to observe them. We come into a pose to notice the stresses in the body. Now we attend. So we have both an intention and we pay attention. As we hold the poses for time, it's natural that these sensations will also change. It may become more challenging. You may find there's an urge to move. That's okay. We all have urges. We wouldn't be here if our parents didn't have urges. But just because there's an urge doesn't mean we have to move. This is why yoga should be taught to teenagers in high school. So we learn how to notice an urge without necessarily giving into it. Of course, if the sensations ever become painful, then wisdom would suggest we should back off a bit, or even come out of the pose. But if it's tolerable, stay here for one more minute, noticing the quality of the experience. Are the sensations sharp, stabbing, burning? Those are not good sensations. That's what we call pain. You may need to come out. But if it's dull, if it's achy, that's what we're seeking. So we linger. Is there a quality of temperature to it? Is it cool or is it warm? Again, hot, burning, not good. 3 more breaths. And again, attend to the quality of the sensations as you slowly start to roll up. Once you're up again, you can just lean back. Perhaps shake the legs out a little bit. Or just be still. Feel the echo. Return your awareness to the place where you were exploring before. What does it feel like now? After the stresses ended. With the child's pose, the butterfly and the caterpillar, we were flexing the spine. So now we're going to move the spine in a new direction. We're going to come into a pose called the supported bridge. So lying on your back, grab a block or two, just put it beside your hip. Lying on your back, bend your knees. Pause here for a moment. Allow your spine to be used to being neutral for a moment. Take a mental snapshot of how your spine feels right now. And for the supported bridge, with your knees bent, feet on the floor, lift your hips up a bit, and then place the blocks right underneath the sacrum. Not underneath the lower back, because then you wouldn't be able to get the curve. Now, these blocks do have different height settings. Keep it on the flattest setting. If you start to put it on the high setting, there's a danger it could fall, it could tip over. And that would be very jarring. So keep them flat. If you need more height, just add more blocks on the flat side. Now for track 1 beginners, people who don't have a lot of natural range of motion, you can just stay here, the knees bent. Track 2 students, if you have a natural range of motion that allows it, you can straighten the legs. Now you might start to feel nice tugging in the front side of the body, but we're also creating extension through the lower back. Track 3 students, in time you may need to add more blocks here to get you to your edge. Another option for anybody is to bring the arms over your head, and you might notice how that increases the sense of sensation through the lower belly. The caveat with the arms over the head, though, is for some people it creates tingling in the fingers. So if that happens, usually it's a sign that you're compressing the nerves. It's called the brachial plexus that innervates the arm. And if you ignore that, you could damage those nerves permanently. So if you get tingling in the arms, bring the arms onto your forehead or rest them onto a block. If that doesn't get rid of the tingling, then just leave the arms at your side. Again, I invite you to close your eyes so we can interiorize our awareness now. We have a few targeted areas here. You might feel a little bit in the top of the thighs, through the front of the pelvis and the lower belly. Or you may feel it more in the lower back. People with the arms over your shoulder, you also might feel this through the upper arms and the shoulders, the armpits. But again, we want to climb inside the experience. So find the strongest sensation you're experiencing right now. Again, notice it. There's many ways to attend to sensation. We've already discussed the geography of the sensation. Where exactly is it? Is it in one spot, or is it spread out? Is it deep? Is it superficial? What's the shape of it like? Often in the front of the body, you might feel a nice stretch right from the shoulders, the lower belly, across the pelvis, into the top of the thigh. It's one long ribbon of sensation. And that would indicate that you're sensing a fascial continuity. It's the fascia that's being tugged. On the other hand, if you feel one concentrated area of sensation in the lower back, that could be indicative of compression. Two bones are hitting into each other. That would be a small area. So the qualities and the type of sensations give you an indication as what's happening within. Once we're attending to the sensation, then we're able to make a choice. This is how wisdom develops. You can decide whether to stay. If the sensations feel skillful, challenging, slightly outside your comfort zone, stay here. If the sensations are no longer uncomfortable and becoming painful, then it's time to back off or come out of the pose. But you'll only know by paying attention. So we return to this koan. What is this? What am I feeling? Well, one more minute here. Now again and again, the mind will wander. That's what minds do. 1,000,000 times in this practice, your mind will go away. And so 1,000,000 times, you bring your awareness back. That's one of our intentions of the practice today, is to attend. So it's really a practice of returning. Keep returning to what is this? 3 more breaths. So let's keep this inner focus as we slowly come out. And we want to come out the way we went in. First, bend the knees. Now, without being aware of it, the tissues have become quite fragile. So just lift the hips up a tiny bit, slide the blocks away, and then slowly lower the spine down. Slowly, like an old person. You can groan, it helps. Pause there. Feel this rebound. Again, there's that sense of fragility. We did ask a lot of the tissues. Give them a chance to recover for a moment. When you feel the time is right, you can maybe release the lower back by hugging the knees in. Gently circling the knees to massage the lower back. Perhaps circling in both directions. Again, you can pause for a moment. The next pose we're going to do is the saddle pose. And some of you have done this already. For the track 3 students who can do saddle lying down, you can simply draw one foot in beside you, and then draw the other foot in. And just come straight into the saddle. For most normal people, however, that's not going to work. So just roll up to sitting. We begin the exploration of saddle by sitting on our heels. Just check how this feels. If this is too much stress to the ankles, again, you can put padding, some support, maybe a folded blanket or towel there. If it's too much stress for the knees, sit up on some cushions. If none of those options are going to work, then a better pose is the Sphinx pose. Simply come onto your stomach, prop yourself up on your elbows, and you'll still get the main targeted area of the lower back. If this is okay for the knees and the ankles, the next stage in the saddle is simply to lean back on your hands. Pausing here. So now we're creating that little curve in the lower back. If you have no neck issues, you can lengthen the neck, drop the head back. But if dropping the head back creates any sense of lightheadedness or dizziness, then don't do that. If this becomes too much, again, just come back onto your stomach and do the Sphinx pose. For the track 2 students who have a little bit more range of motion left, having a bolster along the spine may allow you to come all the way down, so now you can relax. Perhaps again, clasping the elbows. If that creates tingling, don't do that part. Or again, the track 3 students, you're already on the floor, hanging out here. Now, whichever version you've chosen, make sure it's doable. We'll be here for a while. And again, close your eyes. Now there's going to be a lot of sensations in this posture. We have several targeted areas. We got the top of the ankles. We are doing something called plantar flexion. And some people can't plantar flex the foot 180 degrees. So this is a nice way to work into those tissues. You're also deeply flexing in the knees here, which can be very therapeutic for the cartilage in the knees, the meniscus, the collateral ligaments. But again, if it's painful, then you're too deep. You need to back off. This is not the deepest back bend, but you may feel it in the lower back. And if you're clasping the hands over your shoulders, again, you may work into the shoulders, the arms, or you might feel that nice ribbon of fascial stretch all along the front side of the body. Again, we want to pay attention to these sensations. If it's too much for the neck, you can always support the head a little bit more. Perhaps have a couple of bolsters. Once you're at that edge, become still. Let's revisit this koan. What is this? These koans in Japanese Zen meditation are questions that are not meant to have logical answers. They're meant to go beyond the rational mind, and to just into the experience they're designed to create a state of perplexity or doubt or curiosity. What is this? There's a saying in Zen, with little doubt comes a little bit of enlightenment. With great doubt comes great enlightenment. But with no doubt, there's no enlightenment. So we want to cultivate this. We keep asking the question, but not expecting to have an answer. There's a Zen monk named Stephen Batchelor. He's a fabulous writer. And he relayed his experience in a Korean Zen monastery where they were only assigned this one koan, this one question, what is this? And he explains how it's really meant to cultivate this sense of curiosity, as if you went to the grocery store. You went to Whole Foods and you came out with a bag of grocery in your arm, and you reached in your pocket for your car keys, but they weren't there. So you shift the bag of groceries to the other arm, reach in your other pocket, and the car keys aren't there either. So if you're a normal human being, you go back to the first pocket, check there as if you missed 5 ounces of metal somehow. After checking everywhere you can think of, and you still haven't got your car keys, you have that moment of total perplexity. Where are the keys? The mind stops. There's no thoughts. There's just this openness to whatever possibility there is. So about 3 more breaths. Be open like that. What is this? Now there's various ways to come out of this pose, but if it's the safest way for you, let's try this. Just roll to one side, gently, slowly, stretching the top leg and then the bottom leg. You can move away whatever bolsters or supports you are using, and then just come lie on your back again. Allow the knees to be straight. We asked a lot of the knees, so just take a moment to relax the knees. The spine is returned to a neutral position. If you like, you can tighten the kneecaps, engage the quads, and then release, and do that a few times. Just to acknowledge at the knees that, yes, I know, I won't do that again to you. It's okay. Now, both the bridge and the saddle pose, we're not really deep extensions in the back. So we may not have gone to your full range of motion there. So when you're ready, roll onto your stomach. We're going to come into the Sphinx and the Seal pose. So as you come onto your belly, you can bring any cushions to the front of the mat with you. Again, start by just propping yourself up on your elbows. You can clasp the elbows in your hand and walk the elbows a little bit out in front of you, just so there's no muscular engagement in the shoulders to stay here. You can allow the head to hang down, getting a nice stress for the back of the neck. If that's too much for the head, keep the head up, maybe rest your head into your hands or rest your head onto a block. We're trying to find that edge in the lower back. If even this is too much, as always, one option is to bring a bolster underneath the armpits. If it's uncomfortable in your belly, you can do another approach to have the bolster underneath the pelvis and your elbows on blocks. So this is great for pregnant women. You got space now, so the belly can hang here. Or if you just had a 10-course meal, and for some reason you decided to do Yin Yoga right then, this might be another option for you.
But if you're still not feeling very much here, you can start to prop yourself up a bit higher. So in this case, use the bolster underneath the elbows, lifting the chest higher. And you can get quite creative with them. You can start to stack multiple levels, become an architect, or like you're playing with Lego blocks and just get higher and higher. Another option is to bend the knees. But just as we did in child's pose, where we felt the spinous processes, see if you can bring one hand behind your back again and just feel those bumps there. Where before, we used to have a lot of space between them when we were doing a flexion. Now you might find that the space there is gone. The spinous processes are now kissing. And if that happens, you've reached the limit of how far you can do your back bend. In which case, you just stay here. No need to go further. For the few students who do have more range of motion, you can transition to the seal pose. String the hands outward, straighten the elbows, you can lock the elbows, and just hang here. But if you start to feel tingling in the fingers in this position, then it's better to come back onto the elbows. Remember, as long as you're feeling something, you're getting the benefits. And time is more important than intensity, so you don't have to be at the deepest back bend. But now for the next minute or so, let this linger. But again, pay attention. What are you feeling here? Again, take the most obvious sensation and then notice the details. Where is this? Is it superficial or is it deep? Is it concentrated or is it spread out? Does it move? Does it throb? Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it dull? Is it achy? Is it a sense of tugging or is it more of a sense of squishing, compressing? And we add another layer to this investigation. Attending to the sensation, notice how it subtly changes through the cycle of your breath. What effect does breathing in have on it? How does breathing out change it? Three more breaths. Keep attending to these sensations as we slowly come out. So lowering down. Turn your head to one side. Rest your cheek on your palms. And whichever way you turned your head, slide that knee alongside you on the floor. And again, just notice the quality of rebound. Turn your head to the other side. Slide that knee alongside you. And straighten your legs. Roll over onto your back one more time.
So a new direction for the spine that we haven't done yet. We're going to do a lateral flexion. And this pose is called banana asana. The banana asana has a lot of appeal. To start, straighten your legs and just kind of lie down in a mountain pose position. And clasping the arms over your head, we're simply going to do a side bend. We can start by pulling the upper body to the left, as far as you can go, until you start to feel a nice tugging along the whole right side. And then add the legs a little bit to the left. It's easy to move the left leg. The challenge is moving the right leg as well. Now try not to lift the hips up. Keep both buttocks on the ground, including the right one. The right one's part of both by definition. We just come to that first edge where you feel a nice tugging along the whole side body. Don't be in a hurry to go deeper. Just allow the body to soften here. And again, we attend to the sensations, the experience. By attending to the experience, we can play the edges. We know when things have opened up, maybe we can move a bit more. Eventually, you might find you can cross your ankles. Now, there's two ways to do it. If you bring the outside ankle over the inside, you get a little bit extra juice, a little juicier banana. However, some people prefer to cross the inside over the outside, and that helps to lock the leg in place so it doesn't slide out. So you can experiment with both of those. But once you've got to a decent edge here, again, commit to the stillness. If you get tingling in the arms, again, bring the arms onto your forehead, onto a block. If that doesn't get rid of the tingling, then just lower the arms down. Again, don't ignore the tingling. Pay attention. If it's tingling, modify. So anything that feels like electrical, kind of zingers, a sharp, hot, boring pain, these are not good signs. You're damaging tissues. But if it's just a challenge, achy, tugging, even if it's just uncomfortable, stay here. But we keep coming back to the practice of attending to sensations. Many people claim they don't have time for meditation. Their life is just too busy. They know they should meditate, but they just never got around to it. And besides, sitting for 20 minutes seems like such a waste of time. But they got time to do yoga. Well, here in your Yin Yoga practice, you've got time for several mini meditations. Little 4- and 5-minute meditations, all strung together, end to end. There are two great directions for meditation. In the classical yogic teachings of Patanjali in his Yoga Sutra, the meditation practice there was one of withdrawal, of going inward, shutting the sense doors. This is known as pratyahara. So you heard nothing, you saw nothing, you see nothing, taste, smell, all the senses are closed. Until eventually, your subjective experience, your conscious awareness is only of awareness itself. There's no object. There's a guy named the Buddha, who lived about 700 years before the time of Patanjali. And he tried that pre-classical yogic idea of an inward journey for the meditation, of shutting the world out. And he found it didn't take him where he wanted to go. So he created a new direction. The Buddhist style's meditation is one of opening up to the world, of opening the doors, of opening the lens of experience, so you're aware of more and more, until the subject is completely all object. And that's what we're practicing in this session. We're attending to sensations, not closing down the scope of our awareness, but opening up. Engaging in life rather than running away from it. I invite you for the last minute here. Keep asking yourself, what is this? Be curious. Last 3 breaths. Stay curious as you come out of this pose. Now, it's surprising just how juicy bananas can get. So come back to the center and just pause here for a moment in shock and awe. Notice how that whole right side of your body is feeling. If you're craving some movements, you can hug the knees, circle the knees, or do happy baby or windshield wipers, whatever feels appropriate. And there's no hurry to go over and do the other side, but when you're ready, you can just lie down with the legs straight. You can clasp the arms over your head. Start by pulling the upper body to the right, just until you naturally stop. You can use the right hand to pull the left elbow over. And once you can't go any further with the upper body, then you start to move the lower body. And again, it's easy to move the right leg, but try to move the left leg as well. Don't be in a hurry to cross the ankles. Wait for the body to open up until you're at a deeper, more final edge. Again, we're not trying to get completely deep. Remember, time is more important than intensity here. But just where you're feeling that nice tugging, and once you feel that you're at your appropriate edge, perhaps crossing the ankles, staying here. Now we know the process. We've learned how to attend. So in this last pose, I'll be quieter and just invite you to keep coming back. Your mind will wander, that's okay, but keep coming back to the most obvious sensation. Explore that, be curious. Ask yourself, what is this? If you find the sensations are ebbing away a bit, perhaps you need to play your edge, go a bit deeper. On the other hand, if you feel like you're getting a pinching on the opposite side, the inside of the curve, you may be reaching a point of compression, or you've reached the limit of just how much side bending your body can give you. In which case, don't try to go further, just stay there at your limit. If it's painful, then back off a bit. After you've done the adjustments, come back to awareness. So we have both an intention, the target area is the side body, we're stressing it. We pay attention. What are you feeling? What is this? Last 3 breaths here. And slowly release the banana. Come back to the center. Just pause there. Keep feeling the rebound quality of that pose. Or if you prefer, you can take whatever organic movements feel appropriate. Circling the knees, happy baby, spinal lifts, windshield wipers. And the final pose will be Shavasana. So take a moment to prepare for relaxation, putting on layers, taking off watches, glasses, letting your hair down. If you have a bolster handy, you may place it under the back of the legs, back of the knees, so you can release the lower back. Traditionally, the palms are at the side. You can snuggle the shoulder blades underneath you. The chin in slightly, so the neck is released. Perhaps rolling your head a few times from side to side. But then commit to being still. Close your eyes. Just feel your whole body now surrendering into the earth. Release your focus. Let go now of attending. Simply be relaxed, quiet, soft. The rise and fall of each breath happening on its own. and allowing your breath to become a little bit longer. A little bit deeper. Bring a bit of movement to your body, perhaps rolling your head, wiggling your toes and fingers. When you feel ready, hug the knees. Just release the spine a bit more. Maybe rock from side to side gently. Squeeze the knees into the center. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, bring your head up to the knees just for a moment. Make yourself into a tiny little ball. And then release. Roll to your left side. Pause there for a moment. Coming back to sitting.
Thank you for your attention and your intentions.